Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Mignot, CEO of the experience agency D-Flash, and this is part of my 29 Days of Magic series, where I get to interview a phenomenal Black woman a day the entire month of February for Black History Month. And this week's episode is going to be fantastic. I have a great conversation with Courtney Oliver, who's Senior Director of HR for ViacomCBS. I'm going to talk about how she got there, all her trials and tribulations along the way, and what she's up to next. It's going to be a great conversation. Take a listen. Hey, Courtney.
Hey, Laura.
Happy Monday.
Yeah.
She's like, joy.
I'm happy to be here. Living the dream.
It is a nice, beautiful, sunny day, so we're not going to complain.
It is.
So you've been listening diligently to 29 Days, so you know the deal. So, Courtney, what was your first job?
So my first job, besides like babysitting and doing those things, I did summer youth employment in White Plains, New York, where I grew up. And my first job there was in the Social Security Administration office in White Plains, which I thought was fascinating. And I guess it was the first observation of people and sort of things that people do. And I really came home I didn't really have anything to do besides filing all day, which is fine. But also just looking at people kind of decked out and designer wear and wondering how and why are they able to collect a Social Security check. So it kind of threw me off.
You're like,
but it led to a lot of questions on sort of how these programs work, like who's entitled to them, watching people unfortunately take advantage of taking a check for their child. So that was really like my first parlay sort of in the world and how people make choices.
And you were like, okay, I see how people can make choices.
Yeah, it was fascinating.
And go the right way or obviously go the wrong way. And how old were you?
Probably about 14, 15. Because that's usually when you can start working, get your working papers. So I did that for one summer. And then next summer they put me in the public library, which just is interesting as itself, watching people who come to the library all day long for the free AC and the behaviors people have in a public space was just as interesting, So I guess subtly, who knew I was kind of having job after job where I was really looking at people and their actions all day long.
Funny, because that sounds a lot like what you kind of do now.
Go figure.
As I say in almost every single episode, is that the job that everyone mentions, it always correlates to what they do now.
Yeah.
And it's because there are like these little pieces of you that sort of like always kind of go through, and you realize what you gravitate towards and what you gravitate against from that first experience and how that carries through to when you're sitting with me. So you go from working at the Social Security office to like now or hanging in your office at ViacomCBS. How did that all happen?
Ooh, so
this journey.
The shorter story. So grew up in White Plains. Child of a private school, so I have an older brother, and we both went to private school, so I'm a lifer from K to 12th grade at private school. Our parents were pretty intentional that we both were going to go to HBCUs, so did that, went to Lincoln University in Pennsylvania, hated math, hated science, so I knew I couldn't be a business major, so I ended up being an English communications major. I've always loved music, fashion, and TV, so I was like, I figured this out. Junior year at Lincoln, because we didn't have facilities for communications classes, you go to Temple. So that's where I took all my mass media classes and advertising and film and all of those wonderful things. And I still knew I wanted to be in the world of entertainment. Back then, the dream job was working for MTV Networks, however, whenever that could happen. So it didn't happen when I graduated. So I interned because I still didn't really have a job offer, and I wasn't going to teach, which is like, it seems like banks and schools like prey on HBCUs, and like you always want to either go work at Enterprise or, I got calls to come be a teacher like in PG County and banks, and I was like, nope, that's not for me. That's not entertainment. That's not my sweet spot or joy of what I want to do. I knew I needed to do something where I would love it. Didn't know. So I temped a lot, interned, and just took odd jobs, worked retail at night just to make a paycheck. Then fast forward, I put my resume in a bin at a job fair. And a year later, I got a call.
A year later,
literally. And I said, well, how'd you find me? And the woman said, I have your resume from this binder. And I was like, what binder? So I remember the job fair because I wasn't feeling well. So I knew I shouldn't walk the room that day. So I just left my resume in the bin and left. And here I got a call a year later. And it was for an entertainment company. And I said, all I heard was a cable company. And I just said, yes.
We're good.
So this was oddly enough for CBS Cable, who had an office in Stanford, And so I went and interviewed. I actually interviewed with a woman of color who was getting promoted to analyst, and they needed a new HR assistant. I had no idea what HR was or is, whether you call it HR person. I still had no idea what that meant, but it was entertainment in my head. It was CBS. I knew that was a TV channel. So at that point, CBS owned CMT, which Viacom owns to this day, and the Nashville Network at that time. And then they had like a satellite business. So got the job, and I knew I got the job because the woman who interviewed me was a woman of color, and she wanted another black woman on the team. So that was fantastic and great doing that. But I realized, that I couldn't see the career path in it, unfortunately, because of her story. So I knew she'd always kind of be in the way of my growth, but I was constantly getting an adjustment and different things to keep me happy. So I definitely got bumped to coordinator or HR assistant or coordinator then, but it was just kind of in the way.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we find out we're merging with Viacom in 2000. So I was doing the pink slips and exit letters, and the head of HR at that time, who's since passed, she said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'll take my package and look for a new job. She said, well, I have 2 jobs I think you could interview for at MTV Networks. All I heard her say was MTV Networks.
You're like, oh, we're here.
Right.
I'm there.
Because I never got in the door as many times as I tried to apply prior. So interviewed for one job. A woman liked me. It was her HR assistant. I, never to this day still don't know what the second job opportunity was. And that's how I got to 1515 Broadway, where I really discovered my career. I always just say I'm not a people person, but I'm enough of a people person to do this job where I can kind of realize I can make a hard decision, but also treat people nicely and fairly and treat them as humans. And I think that's really what I've learned. And so even to your point about, I realized I've been analyzing and studying people unbeknownst to me, like my entire life. So
you're in the business of people.
I am. So that's really how I got here, and just had great bosses, people who saw me. I think I still have bosses who continue to see me and know how to push and challenge me. But I've had like one boss, I think, for a good 7 years, and that's actually where my entire career just took off. And we're still friends to this day, which is great. So I've always had good bosses. I've had executives just kind of always whisper things, like I didn't realize when an executive said something one day like, oh, I just came from the, senior team meeting. And I was like, great, and she said, your name came up the table, good things, good things. And I was like, people talk about you? So it was like a moment I didn't really realize that people are watching you and talking about you. And so those were the lessons that these leaders just started really instilling in me. Be careful what you say. If you have a moment with someone, keep it respectful, because you don't want really one bag egg to spoil the bunch, right? So you want to try to keep all relationships healthy. And one thing I'd say about being in this building, we learned early, is relationships are everything, but also you have to deliver on your work. And so I think, to be honest, that's what's kept me here almost 23 years, which is
23 years. What makes you stay?
The people. Even on my good, bad day, tough day where you just want to pull your hair out and just go home and just lay on the couch and cry. But I believe in the brands, which I think is pretty amazing. Like entertainment's always been my joy. I'm a TV watcher still, like literally watch real TV.
Same.
In my house we have a real TV and we have a real landline. We're like that household.
I don't know about the landline.
I don't know why I have to. I'm just keeping it. I don't know. Maybe it's the mom in me that I think I need it for some crazy reason.
In case of emergencies.
And you have older relatives
who may still call.
Who might still call you on that number. They might not get the cell thing. So I think it's the people, it's the brands. I think the brands are still just as relevant as they were when I remember when MTV launched, like when I was in junior high. Like I can still see it, and then being at Nickelodeon has been great. Being a mom, I came over to Nick probably when my son was maybe 2, maybe 1 or 2. So having a child who's grown up in the brands the same way I did is pretty cool. But I think there's something special in here. I don't know if anyone else can define it, but there's just some secret sauce in this building. I have something in the water. Either you get it or you don't. And I've just been fortunate enough, so knock on wood, I'm not ready to give it up, but I've also just had great leaders who've moved me to the right opportunities at the right time.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's interesting, because I think a lot of times when people stay at a job for a long time, it's a testament to also their ability to pivot, grow, and build really rock solid relationships. And that's been one of the themes over 29 days of the 29 Days of Magic for the women who have been at companies for a long time. Like, it's how you build and foster those relationships. And how have you been able to do that?
I think the beauty, though, for me was I had ad sales early in my career, so those are true relationship builders. and salespeople. So, I had ad sales for a long time, and then I had legal. So, one, you probably can't bullshit me. I've heard it all, seen it all, so that's not going to work. So come correct. But also, I think watching how they network and navigate a room, that was something I learned. But I also had like great bosses who told me, and one of them said to me early on, we know you can deliver on the work, but now you have to figure out how to bring in who you are and bring that into your day. And so I just sort of learned how to bring the nuances, the cordialness that you bring to a meeting. Don't come in the room and just get to the facts. Ask somebody how their day is. Ask them about their family or their kids or how their weekend was. But keep it brief. Like, I don't need to tell you every single detail of what I just did, but there's a cordialness, And I've been lucky, even at a junior level, entitled to have, like, at one point, I had the chief of staff of all MTV networks, and just building that relationship with her and, the two EVP general counsel of all of legal, and to know that if I dialed their extension, sometimes they would pick up. And I was like, ooh, you answered. And they were like, well, you wouldn't call me unless it was important. So really just delivering and doing the work that you're supposed to do, like doing what you're paid for, but also just sort of taking that time to just share a little bit. I think the benefit also I love about this building is my son grew up here. Like from the womb, I would have a blanket on the floor, the stroller in the office. So from everyone from the security guards on up, they still ask about him. So they're just as invested in me as I'm invested in them. And I think that's also really special, that there's a settledness where people care, and I think I've just been fortunate to have people champion and cheerlead for me that I didn't even know. So before that really was a thing and a label, I didn't know or realize how many people were saying my name out of their mouths, which actually also helped navigate my time and career here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so what's sort of your day-to-day job now? 23 years later, what is it you do today?
So it's, I'm fortunate with the client groups that I service now, which is consumer products for across every Viacom brand. And then I'm the HR point of contact for everyone Nickelodeon New York. So really it is sitting down with each division and leader and really helping them make sure their team structure is correct. So it could be like org design. Clearly, sometimes there's some issues and performance issues. So really kind of helping the employee feel heard, but also the manager, making sure they're managing any of those concerns fairly. And, we don't need a lawsuit on our hands for someone, saying something crazy or inappropriate. So a lot of employee relations issues, especially now, just kind of given the heightened sensitivity and a lot of anxiety people have with the business changing, and then all that goes on in the world, from a political sense. So it really is just trying to help people do their job and feel seen and heard, helping people navigate their career path. Because it's not always your time frame. Sometimes it's a company's time frame. It's making sure people understand the company's goals and vision, and that they understand what it means to them and their job. Making sure people actually listen to the earning call. Are we making money or aren't we? So is this really the time that you want to ask for a promotion or adjustment? And even if you still ask, how are you going to ask for it in trying times? So a lot of coaching of employees and coaching of executives, because we all want something. That's part of how you navigate your career. You do want something. So how do you do it so it really is the right strategic move? And unfortunately, we do a lot of restructures, unfortunately, in the changing landscape of the industry. So, definitely play a role in terminations, And I think for me, I just want the person in that moment, because I've been in chairs, I was on a list here many times ago, but by the time I got to my day where I was supposed to sign my letter, I got my job offered back again. So I've been in both sides of the chair, and I want the person in that moment to feel heard, seen. I want them to be okay with their emotion. So the main thing for me is making sure everyone feels like they are being treated by someone who knows them as a human. So I'm not necessarily keen on the word calling people officers. I really want to keep the human in human resources, because that's really important. I get the people, but it's more than that.
There's the humanity that has to go in it, which is
Correct.
So very important.
So I think my main job, hopefully, is help people grow. Help them get from good, better, great, whatever it is that desire is, whether it's here or not. So sometimes you do have to coach people out of the organization because the organization may not be able to give them what they desire. And just all the different levels of what having a voice means, what being valued means in your career, but also, you don't really separate your personal from professional. You're one person all day long. And so I do think I'm me all day long, every day, all day. I talk to everyone pretty much the same way, for better or for worse. I've definitely grown and know how to, massage a message.
Of course.
But I think that I'm okay. Like when people say, if you go to Courtney, be prepared to hear the truth. That's not a bad tagline to have behind my name. So, that means I do know you put some thought into it before you even knocked on my door or sent me that email saying, can we meet? And I appreciate that. And I appreciate, also knowing when I need to just kind of lean out. And it's not my agenda either. Like what's best for the business and what's best for the individual. And that's been a pretty interesting kind of thing to figure out because it does take into the fact that humanity, to your point, how do you balance empathy, not really sympathy, but empathy in the workplace. Right. I would like to make sure that to the best of my ability that I'm an empathetic leader as opposed to just going. It's not about picking sides, it's about what's doing right.
Yeah, it is just about doing the right thing because oftentimes, not everything is going to last forever for everyone. No. And I think oftentimes people think it's going to be so, like, my world will be ripped apart and I'll never be able to put back again. And I think it's much more about the fact that if you can give a human message behind that like, you're going to wake up tomorrow, this is going to suck. Yeah. But, but by the way, you woke up tomorrow.
Perfect. Like, I'll never forget, sometimes we help each other with layoffs, and I was helping our MTS group, our technology group, and I had to meet a young lady. This poor sister broke out in tears, was hysterical. She just had a baby. They just bought a house. So, like, I completely...
You did ruin her life.
But, she was talking. I said, I just got to interrupt you for 2 seconds. I said, you don't even seem to be happy in your job. I said, take this paid time out of the separation package that we're offering. Please go find out what you're passionate about and see how you can do that for your next chapter. Probably, here we go, a year later, I'm on the 2 or 3 train heading uptown. I heard someone say, Courtney. And I knew her face, but I didn't know why. She said, do you remember me? I said, I know your face. Tell me why. She goes, oh, you fired me. I said, oh, great. Thanks. Okay. She said, no. She goes, I have no idea why I listened to you that day. I have no idea. And she said, but I just want to tell you, I just got a job offer to be a teacher today. And I've always wanted to be a teacher. And I said, well, then, job done. I'm glad you listened to me, and I'm glad the words came to me. So I also believe in listening to my intuition. The messages are always there. You just have to figure out how to package it so hopefully the person can hear it. So that's why I said I believe in empathetic leaders, because if you listen to what your core, your spirit, or whatever is telling you, you really can help people. And if that's what I get to do every day, I feel pretty damn lucky.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So what's been a challenge that you've had in your career? Because I'm sure you've had loads and loads of ups and downs along the way. And how have you been able to kind of get through it to the other side? And what did you learn?
I think I've had, good days, bad days, good leaders, bad leaders. Like anyone, I'm an employee of the company as well. So I had to also figure out and learn how to navigate my own career and decide what that means to me. Early on, I stopped worrying about what you called me because I actually have kind of always had a seat at the table in different rooms, just given the circumstances on really just being on small teams. So that's really been a blessing. I think it's a lot to juggle sometimes. Like even right now, my job or the client groups I serve is pretty big. So it's a lot of work. So I definitely know that I drop the ball quite frequently, but I think it's really just owning it, so just kind of saying, my bad, I forgot to do that. Let me get to you right now. I think I don't duck and hide if I can help it. And I think sometimes it's juggling, your household, having a child and a spouse in your house, kind of how do you manage that? And, you're exhausted. You're dealing with people all day long. So it's like giving therapy session 8 hours or more a day. And to go home and, you want to hear about your kid's day at school. You want to hear what's going on. So I think, and then the organization's constantly changing. So I have to figure out what I should stop worrying about. I think also, kind of in this world of social media and technology, and like, what am I doing to quote unquote brand myself and put myself out in the world? So I made a choice, and I was in a little bit of a valley. It was in a bad experience, and I didn't know whether I should stay or go. And it was till I came home one day, and my other half, he said, I know you love your job, but you're coming home complaining about X every day. What are you going to do? And for a man to actually pick up on that was a lot for me, and for him to pick up on it, and I was like, oh my God. He said, because you're coming home frustrated and you're yelling at us, but it has nothing to do with us. And so I sat down, I prayed, I get down and think about it, and I just said, guide me to where you need me to be. I don't think I'm finished here, but if you think I am, just show me where I need to go. But I also knew at that point, I also needed to break up with fear. Because fear was also holding me back, and it was keeping me stuck. And to your point, I've also had a lot of great champions that I said earlier, and people who know me and I think see me. And I know I had a couple of leaders pull me aside and say, what's going on? You're not the Courtney we know. Some of them were white women. Some of them like my sister friends at the workplace. And to have people who really know you pull you aside and say, what is going on? So I was internalizing a lot of stuff and it was coming out. And I'm a Cancer by nature. So, them crab claws were like, they were coming. They were coming. And I'm thankful that people stopped me before maybe I got too far.
Right.
So, thankfully I'm still here. So clearly I still have work here to do. I think, some of my leaders, I just think it's great. Sometimes they just stop you and say, well, what's next for you? I heard this opportunity is coming. Is that for you? Because if it's for you, do you need me to call somebody? Like I've changed divisions and to have, your client groups call you and say, is this a good opportunity for you? And I said, I think it is. And for them to say that I won't stand in your way. So I also am learning at this point, even though I'm like 20 plus years in the game of work, how do you use your network? How do you use the people around you? And how do you trust and believe that they really do have your best interest at heart? Because I think trust is pretty tricky. But I also am thankful that I have different networks. Like I've got my core girlfriend crew, and so I know that they're on speed dial. But also to have people who work in your industry to also know that you can call and say, I'm having a moment. Talk me through this. Talk me off the ledge. How do I figure this out? I think that's why I may have more good days than bad days because I have places to turn. And I have some men, like, I have a work hubby, and he'll call me out on it. He was like, the way you said that was not cool. The way you just showed up in that meeting was not cool. And sometimes, well, I don't care because that's what I needed to say, But
you need
I'll
somebody
play
to
my day and be like, you had a point. You right. You right. And figure it out. So I think, people have to find that connection internally and externally because you need people to understand your industry. And then you need people who don't understand your industry, but that just understand you.
Right.
So I think, even when I had these little rocky peaks and valleys, I just had the right people. Even my brother, I'll call him like, oh my God, dude, what do I do? But that's just your brother. So he's going to love you no matter what, hopefully, if that's a family relationship you have. And so I'm just grateful for all these pockets of genius around me that keep me lifted.
It's awesome. So I know that you also have a coaching thing that you do. So I'd love for you because that's sort of your like what's next.
Yeah. So I think I woke up also in that fear, like, if my day comes and I know everyone has a turn, so one day someone's going to call me in for that meeting. And I kind of started thinking, what do you want to do next? Do I want to work this hard again for another company and their brand? I'm not sure. So I just started exploring, so it's a minor side hustle because I am raising a 14-year-old, but so I like Google a lot. So I have Google and I like to stalk and learn things on social media and LinkedIn. So I came across a company called Career Contessa, looked at it and just walked away. Just watched what Laura McGoodwin's doing with that business and literally walked away. And then maybe a year later, I finally emailed her and said, well, how does this career mentor thing work? We scheduled a call. I was actually on a business trip in Vegas for a licensing show, and we got on a call. She kind of said, your background as an HR generalist would be great because it is just to help women navigate their career, whatever peaks, they might need just someone to talk through a negotiation or an interview. And so I said, okay, well, sign me up. It's really, when you signed up, I think you had to book at least 3 clients. So Akisa, who's my good friend from college, who she was my first client, and I appreciate a friend is willing to come off a coin, to support you. And then, randomly, it just happened. I've never marketed myself. So it's fascinating every once in a while when you get a ping in your inbox like, oh, I would love to work with you. So I think it's believing. I think the interesting piece about it for me has been believing that I actually know something of value that can be valuable to someone else. But I also think, I had a coach. I believe everyone should have a coach in some point.
Absolutely.
And she was amazing because she said, what's your superpower? And I was struggling. I don't know. And she said, I'm just going to tell you what it is because I've observed it from every call that we've had this far. She said, you listen. So that's why, and I was like, oh. She said, no, when you repeat your week back for me, she goes, everything themes around listening and hearing people. And I said, great. So this is why this kind of career mentorship is what they call it. It's been pretty interesting because really just people want to be heard. They don't have anybody maybe to talk to at their job or in their circle who can understand. So I'm just exploring it. I've definitely like it when it comes up randomly. I'm definitely figuring out, when I will really make it a little bit more frequent. Mm-hmm. Determine maybe how many clients I would want to take, on or a time. But what I like about it, because it could be a one and done, or it could be a series. And I actually like that flexibility because I don't think I just want to take people's money to take their money. That's not the intent. Okay. So if it really is a 1 or 2 time phone call, then let's just do that and keep going. So I think that that's just something to play with, but it's a good play with. And it's actually letting me know more than I thought I knew. So it's pulling some stuff out of me, and I'm not, the best at project management or organization. So it's actually helping me have to organize things because you do want people to have a tangible takeaway.
Right.
So it really is figuring out what are the right tools and things to give people, kind of post the call so that they have a little arsenal and tool chest in their back pocket as they continue to navigate their career. But also just, it also is checking in. So it's not really going to walk away. So it's nice sometimes for the holidays. Hey, happy holidays. Are you still at your current job? Did you ever, leave? Where are you? So I think in that respect, some people were surprised that I still kind of reach out and just check in to make sure they're okay. Because what would be the point? Like I said, it's not necessarily about making millions. It's just really about helping women.
Just helping women.
And I am a firm believer in helping women. I definitely would love to help more women of color get out of their own way and out of their own heads, but really helping women as a whole because we are brilliant. We are talented. And so if any way I can be of service there, that's my other joy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So going back on this now, looking back, what would you tell 25-year-old Courtney? Several things.
Oh, my God. We'll keep it professional. But, I think just little things. I think, I can be shy. So I think be braver. I think, you have things to say. You have a voice. Use it more often. I don't know if I would change anything per se. Maybe in the dating scene, I would have changed a few things, Maybe a little wiser and smarter. I think I'm a little craftier now, so I think I would have had a better one-liner in some respects. But, I don't think that there's anything like having a regret. They're all lessons I needed to learn.
Right.
But I do think I've waited too long in my act to actually activate who I'm meant to be. I think I probably knew my purpose, but I also didn't know my career. So my career didn't really come until probably my late 20s, early 30s. So If I could have discovered this world of what HR was sooner, I think I would have hit a sweet spot a lot earlier. And I think to your voice and your network, I think I would have hoped to learn how to use it earlier. Because it is powerful, and I think that's the one thing I appreciate about watching these millennials. I like to have millennials in my pocket, so I have 2 or 3 that I like to call my millennials that I just lean on. I'll pick their brain. I think I have Destiny, who you've met. That's my millennial. And I appreciate our banter, our chatter, because I think she makes me better, and I think I make her better, hopefully. And then there's a young lady that I just saw on social media. I don't really know her, but we definitely ping each other. But I like the way she talks about her career, how she's navigated her career. So I always say to her, that's the point of meeting young people to help us figure out how to navigate. They definitely play a game different than we did. I think there's some things they need to adopt from our game.
Exactly.
Just to keep it real. I don't think they all have it right. I'm not sure how I feel about all this entrepreneurship. I am an intrapreneur. I like knowing that
not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur.
Listen, put that check in my bank account every 2 weeks. Please just do it.
Yeah.
If it's not here, I will go on to the next place that hopefully will put that check in my bank account. I like my benefits. I like my paid vacation. I'm even listening to people who've hopped to all these little startups with that unlimited vacation, and now they're having ahas. There's no such thing.
Yeah.
Because you aren't even going on vacation at all.
Because your phone's still with you, and you're still checking. So
correct.
You're not really on vacation.
I know that I can check out. So there's comforts that this building or any building provides that I like. But yeah, 25-year-old Courtney, I don't know how different she would be. I just think she could have used her voice sooner and believed in herself earlier. I don't think I believed in myself when I was younger.
Well, it's hard. Because, the time that we are in business and who else is there and you're the only one, it gets really difficult to sort of believe that you can do this. And then you get there how did I do this?
I also feel that I'm worthy of it, right?
Yes.
I think we all have to get out of our head, whether a woman or you're a woman of color, get out of your head. Take that seat at the table and hold it. Don't sit in, but that's what I appreciate about my one client. She will tell people, if you were the first one in the room, then you sit at the table. It doesn't matter if you're the executive or not. If they came late, then they got to sit in the back seat.
That's it.
And I think some of that, because a lot of times as women of color, we're just thankful to be here.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful I got a job that, but that's not what we hired them for. So a lot of young people that I've been talking to, and I was on a panel at my brother's job, and I remember saying, young lady, they hired you for a reason. There's a value that you provide. So please get out of your head. And I said, stop sitting at the black kids' lunch table.
Oh my gosh.
Go diversify your network, And I said, stop assuming that the white woman who's asking you questions, she's not necessarily trying to be rude. She's trying to find a way to get to know you. And maybe that, is the one question, or she's trying to figure out what the right question is to open that door. But we keep slamming the door so fast and so quick. Sometimes learn to share your story. I share my story, and I tell people, yeah, I went to HBCU. My parents told us we were going there. And why? And I'm like, oh, but I went to private school first, especially for people I know who live like in my, Westchester. So they know where my school is. They're like, you went there? I did.
Yes, you did.
I did. Don't none of your business how or what my parents did to get us there. That's not your concern of business, but no, I went there.
And hey, graduated.
And then to say my brother went there, an athlete, lacrosse, football, went to Morehouse. Oh, yeah, and he got his MBA at Duke. What? So that's where I think just learning your voice and being comfortable in your skin soon. I've always been comfortable, but there's a different level of comfort that I wish I would have had sooner when it comes to the workplace. And entering rooms and not always like wondering, are they wondering why, or stopping myself wondering why.
Oh yeah, or you don't think you're supposed to be in that room, so you're gonna like you'll sit there kind of mute and not contribute yet, versus just having to go for it.
Yeah.
And my I think similarly, like as my career kind of grew and grew and grew, I was just like, yeah, and yeah, same deal. I'll sit down. Hi.
Right.
If y'all late, you're late. Like I'll be here.
Right.
And and owning. I think it's also about the idea of owning the room, and taking up space.
Correct.
Like your arm should go
presence.
out.
And I think we don't even know when we have presence. And I was at a women's leadership, I'll say, and my boss at the time in the 180 said I didn't have executive presence, so I was struggling with it. And then a young lady said, "What's the matter?" I said, "Oh, my boss said I have executive presence." She said, "Well, that's a lie." And I said, "Well, how would you know? You've only known me for like 2 months." She said, "Because the very first day we came to the training, I watched you walk in the room." She said, "You scanned the entire room, you got your breakfast, and then you scanned the room again, trying to decide who to eat breakfast with." And she goes, "I sat there thinking, I hope she comes to eat with me." And I actually did. And she said, "I knew watching you in that room, you had presence, and I wanted to know who you were." And I think that also means we have to understand what executive presence really means. Are we self-aware? Do we have, like, a lot of people don't have self-awareness, which being in HR, that's a really big hurdle. I don't know if you can teach people that either, which is interesting. I think
I don't think you can.
I'm pretty close to that conclusion after all these years. So I think that's also powerful. You don't even know what people see in you. And so don't let yourself talk, because if you're not having a good, powerful day, to get in your way. And I think I was allowing someone else's narrative to direct who I was. And I think that was powerful for someone who I just met to actually tell me what they saw in me.
It's like, because you have to have that, it's a firmness with your feet where you're like, yep, this is, yep, here. Yeah, because like someone said that to me, and he's like, "Oh, we know that you were in charge." And I was like, "Oh, I'm just standing here in expensive looking sneakers."
You're minding your business though. And people are like, "Oh, can you tell me?" I'm like, "I don't even work here." "Oh, you don't work here?" "No, I'm a guest just like you." And at first I was like, "Why are you asking the black one? Why?" Then I realized there's something that you're holding in this space that says you might be the right person to direct.
Yeah, you're the one who's in charge here. Like, you'll give me the answers that I need.
It's fascinating.
And so it is really, really fascinating. So what do you do to for Courtney? Like, what's your self-care stuff that you do just for you?
I love to sleep. If we could have nap time at work, that would be golden.
That used to be that company that had the nap pods around here, but
I'm a napper. I love TV, so I can just lay on the couch or in my bed all day on a weekend and watch TV. Every once in a while, I do take a mental health day just to sleep in, get some comfort food and just veg out. I love a good massage.
Same.
Just had a massage on Friday. Went to Chill House, had a good massage.
Nice.
And that was an investment I made in myself. So they have a membership thing. So I was like, you know what? Pay for the membership so that way you're guaranteed at least one massage a month.
So you'll know you'll have it.
So at least I know I had. When I left, I was like, you know what? Pick the Friday that you're going to go. So I did a massage, did a mani, and left. They have a little cafe. You can get a little healthy drink if you want. But I was like, that is a priority for this year, just because, we hold so much. We sit at our desk. We're sitting in meetings all
Meetings all
day.
day long, right.
The guy's like, oh my God, your lower back is insane. I was like, yeah, I've been sitting in meetings all day, all week in offsite. So massaging, sleeping, just vegging out is really important. Like sometimes Sundays, I don't really want to do anything, but two colleagues and I, we live in the same neighborhood. So now we get up Sunday mornings and go for a walk. So we walk all the way from 127th to Columbus Circle.
Nice walk.
About an 9 mile walk. The first time we were all like, who knew these hills were in Central Park? And then we have like a light brunch, kind of keep it healthy-ish, and stroll on back home. And that's just been really refreshing to do on a Sunday.
Nice.
Set the tone. I do believe I self-care. I pray all day, every day. Pray. I try to tell myself I'm fabulous in the mirror when I'm brushing my teeth every day. So I those are the things I think I need to do to take care of me. Tell myself I'm great. Hanging out with your girlfriends, having a brunch or a wine date on a Saturday afternoon. Just things that I think make me happy. And that's TV, sleeping, music, joy. I'm trying to get back into reading because I used to love to read. I used to probably fly through books a week. So I have a huge stack of books that I would love to get through. And then I want to get back into working out. I have a great workout crew that I miss terribly. And so got to figure out how to kind of get that 3-day work out back into my routine because I felt great after. So I do know that I think my body's missing that and I'm missing that because it's actually good for you, mentally as well.
Right, totally.
So, I'm on that self-care train as everybody else is, And then the other thing that I think that also takes care of me and feeds my soul is giving back. So however I can give back to the community, I'm on a board, so that's important, and definitely I'm glad that it's, serving girls of color so that they can see what they can become.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you've been listening to, this last question is going to be, what is your give or your ask? So it could be an ask of the universe, ask of the audience, and whatever you'd like it to be.
As a give, if I can ever be a service or help, I do think I'm a people connector. Who knew? But I absolutely do. I do, and I don't even realize I'm doing it.
Yeah,
so if clearly when you told me what you were doing, I sent you my long list of people that you need to know. So I do believe, and I it's interesting when I volunteered at the New York Women's Foundation. The woman who was the president there, I'll never forget when she said in a meeting, we were at an event, and there's some pretty high level women there, including Bloomberg's partner Diana Taylor. And she said, "Oh, Diana, this is Courtney Oliver. You need to know her." And I was like, what?
Yes.
Like, what? But it was a choice of wording. One of my executives said, about our former head of MTV, the president, host so-and-so, this is Courtney. She's the one who does. And I said, why would you say it like that? Because she's like, I need people to know who I have my eye on. So if ever I can be, and I think that way to introduce people, and I say it all the time now, oh, so-and-so, this is, Laura, you need to know her because she's the one who does X, Y, and Z. You need to know about that. So any way I can be of service to people, even if it's navigating the career, I'm always open for a good, cup of wine or cup of coffee to help you get out of your head. So, that's my gift. I'm an HR professional at this point. So let me help you. And then my ask, I ask, every day, like I think I ask for the universe to diversify my network, which clearly is happening. I'm meeting many amazing women over the last year, and I hope to continue to do so, and just whatever opportunities that brings. I'm on a board, so I would love to see more women talk about being on boards. I think we need more women of color on boards. So any way I can help you figure that out. It's not always about money, so I don't think that I have money to always make it work, but I'm learning also how to ask. So, what I really would love, for the board I'm on, Figure Skating in Harlem, is really to see, people go to their companies and just ask for that, $1,000, $2,000, whatever. Get a ticket and be in these rooms. Because it makes a difference for the young girls just to see women, So I really want to see more women invest in themselves and in our communities, in our young ladies, because the girls are killing it. They're killing it more than the boys. I'm a mom, a boy, a mom, I'm a son, but I'm watching the girls just kill it. So I just, keep asking the universe to help me learn how to ask, how to get people to lend their time and their support. And I ask the universe to keep guiding my son to the greatness that he's destined to be. Because he's a good one. He's mine, but he's a good one. And I just say to continue to expand the village that surrounds him. Because, I had him for a reason, which I know is a whole nother podcast talk. But I did. And to hear other people repeat that to me, like just got his advisory letter, and to hear what that man just said about my son, I read it like, who's he talking about? So that's powerful. So I constantly ask the universe and the village to continue to feed him. I think it's the love that he's received that is allowing him to be who he's destined to be. And so I just want to surround him with more people who are going to just bring him, his greatness.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh, Courtney, it's been such a delight to have you on this show. I'm so glad we were able to do this. We'll put all the details and notes how people get in contact with you, with Career Contessa, with Figure Skating of Harlem, and you as like HR professional counselor. So folks can find you. And thank you so very much.
No, thank you. I truly appreciate you having me.
Awesome. And that is our show.